What's up, guys, and welcome to the Tim Sports Talk. And today we have a wild card weekend recap for the first round of the NFL playoffs. Now, I made 6 videos last week, making a prediction for all 6 games, kind of recapping how I think the game was going to go. And I went 3-3 in my predictions. There was 2 games that I said were 50-50. I ended up losing both of those because that's how I do it. And then I felt good about another 3, the ones that I got right. And the last game ended up being a complete 180 from what I thought was going to happen. And that one I was completely wrong on. So, first up, we have the Indianapolis Colts versus the Buffalo Bills. And this turned out to be a fantastic game. I did pick the Bills, but I thought the Bills would have it going away, and in a sense they did, but then a little bit of a deeper look, they really could have gone either way in this game, right? Especially considering this game almost went into overtime, and it had one of the worst calls by a ref. Like, not necessarily a ref, but a group of refs that decided to replay that fumble at the end of the game. How they got that wrong is beyond me. He got up, and his knee was like 6 inches off the ground, minimally, way off the ground before he got touched. The corner came up and stripped the ball out of his hands. Fumble, Bills ball, game over. They replayed this and determined apparently it was not a fumble. How they came to that determination is beyond me. It was one of the worst calls I've ever seen in a playoff game that was reviewed and not corrected. It was just ridiculous. It was so easy call. They were looking at it for like 10 minutes, and you didn't come to the correct conclusion on that one. Absolutely ridiculous. But Buffalo Bills ended up only taking it 27-24, and because of that no-call fumble, Phillip Rivers and the Colts had a chance to come back in this game. They ended up losing on downs, but they were almost in field goal range. A little bit farther in, they could have got there. Now, there was also a missed field goal earlier in a 3-point game, and they also went for it on 4th down, like 4th and 4, and ended up failing. That should have been 3 points. I mean, it was a 10-7 ball game. You're up 10-7. Take the 3 points and continue to move on. Your defense has actually played pretty well up to this point. Why not just take the 3, continue to rely on that defense that's gotten you this far? They're one of, I think they're number 1 or number 2 fantasy defense this year. They've been balling. So I don't know why they felt the need to go for it on 4th, but that 3 points, they would really wish they had that at the end of the game because they could have been going for a win instead of trying to tie it. Josh Allen continue to play pretty well, man. 324 yards, 2 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs, 6 catches, 128 yards and a touchdown. Absolute baller there. Josh Allen was the leading rusher. The Buffalo only ran the ball 10 times with people not named Josh Allen. Zach Moss ended up getting hurt. They've actually picked up Devontae Freeman for the next game. We'll get more into that later. But Zach Moss ended up being hurt, out for the rest of the playoffs. Colts, Phillip Rivers had a decent day. There was some boneheaded moves, especially like in that last drive. He made a couple of weird throws. They're trying to get into field goal range, and he's like throwing it away. Why he was throwing it away, I have no clue, and he was throwing it away quickly. But overall, he played pretty well. Michael Pittman Jr. had a bunch of nice catches. Unfortunately, though, he couldn't get to 100 yards when he already, I think, had 90 yards in the first half. Like, he was all over at the first half and then didn't go anywhere after that. So that is the quick recap for the Colts versus Bills. Second game up is the Los Angeles Rams versus the Seattle Seahawks. Now, this is one of the ones that I said that could go either way. I would not be surprised if the Rams ended up winning this game. They have a great defense, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Michael Brockers, and company. So I'm not surprised the Rams ended up winning this game 30-20. But I am surprised that Jared Goff came back and played. Like, he was supposed to be out for the game. John Wolford started, and Jalen Ramsey came in and hit a real big hit on the top of his head. It was shoulder to head of John Wolford, who knocked him out of this game. I'm not sure exactly what happened to his neck or collarbone, what ended up going down, but he was out the rest of the game. Jared Goff comes in with the surgically repaired thumb, and doesn't need to do much, but played okay. 9 for 19, 155 yards and a touchdown. For somebody who just had surgery on his throwing hand, that's pretty darn good. Cam Akers, what a monster. 28 carries, 131 yards, and a touchdown. Like, they just could not stop this dude throughout the game, and that would be what cost them. Their offensive line is just terrible. I mean, Russell Wilson was running for his life all game. He ended up getting sacked 5 times, which is ridiculous. Had to go 11 for 27, 174 yards and 2 touchdowns and a pick. He just didn't have a lot of time in the pocket, and unfortunately, he missed DK downfield, who beat the great Jalen Ramsey. And since he missed that one, it could have been a bigger day for DK Metcalf, and maybe even a third touchdown, because he had him beat deep, and he overthrew him. But he ended up with the day, 5 catches, 96 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was a pretty good game. The Rams came out with their game plan, ran the football, played solid defense, got after the quarterback, and they walk away with the W. They move on to face the Packers, being the lowest seed that won on the weekend in the NFC. That is the Rams, so that was the 4 o'clock game on Saturday. Moving on to the Saturday night game, where my beloved Washington football team went against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I gave us only a 15% chance, and I said, let's go. Let's see what happens. Taylor Heineke ends up getting the start. Alex Smith not healthy enough to go, and he was the story of the game. I mean, first of all, the Buccaneers are just stacked to the gills. Their offense is a freaking all-star team. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know what to even think about when you're talking about the who do you stop in that Buccaneers offense? Who do you stop? You try to stop Mike Evans. Okay, they have Chris Godwin. You stop Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Okay, they have Antonio Brown. You try to stop the 3 receivers. Oh, we're just going to hand it off to Leonard Fournette. Oh, yeah, a top 5 talented running back probably, who just happens to not have a good time in his other team and signs with us for a cheap deal. And, oh, no, we lost Ronald Jones to start this game with a quad injury prior to the game, and we have to play Leonard Fournette now. Like, it's just ridiculous what they were able to accomplish getting this team together for Tom Brady. I mean, this is one of the most stacked offenses you could ever see. It's ridiculous. So, good for the Buccaneers, but this story is about Taylor Heineke. 2nd career start ever. He's 27 years old, undrafted, free agent from Old Dominion. He hadn't started a game since 2018. And he came out and balled. 26 for 44, 306 yards, a touchdown, and there was an interception that was tipped at the line where he learned from it, actually. After that tip in the first quarter, he pump faked them many times, get them to jump on their feet, and ended up getting 46 yards on the ground and a touchdown where he dove from the 4-yard line. Taylor Heineke could have even had a bigger day and multiple drops by his receivers. Cam Sims had 2 drops, Steve Sims dropped 1, and Logan Thomas. Like, he had multiple drops by his receivers, and according to some stat I read, he only had 1 inaccurate pass out of 44 pass attempts. Well, I guess I shouldn't say 44 because some of them were throwaways. But still, however many were not throwaways, he only had 1 missed opportunity, even if it was 27 because he had 26 completions. 26 out of 27 great throws. Man, we just had no run game. That run defense, another team, just Buccaneers. Ndamukong Suh, Jason Pierre-Paul, Levante David. They didn't even have Devin White, who they're going to get back for this weekend. And the rest of they just have a fantastic defense as well. They have put together such a squad. Like, I still think they may end up going down to Kansas City, but I don't know if anybody is going to actually stop them come in the NFC. I have no clue. We'll go into more of that later. And Chase Young got completely dominated, and the rest of the D-line got completely dominated by this great Buccaneers offensive line. They got Tristan Wirfs, the first-round pick, on the right tackle. He shut down that side. And then they have, what the heck's that guy's name? I don't even remember. I've never heard of him before, and I can't even remember his name off the top of my head. But their left tackle is a beast. Okay, he just completely manhandled Chase Young, and I was like, gosh, this is not like Chase Young. What in this world is going on? So I went back and looked at a Bears game with Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn. Yeah, he shut those two down too. Like, there's nothing happening on that left side of the line with that left tackle. They just put him one-on-one with Chase Young all game. Like, for the most part. Maybe a play here or there. They had a chip with the running back or whatever. But for the most part, it was one-on-one Chase Young versus that left tackle, and that left tackle kicked his butt. It was ridiculous. So, tough out for Washington. They ended up making it a 31-23 with a chance to tie it at the end. They end up losing it on downs. But great performance for this football team. Nobody was giving them a chance. They said it was going to be 38-3, 38-7. They may not even score. They were just completely poo-pooing on this team, and they fought to the end. They played fantastic, considering the all-star team they were going up against. All right, that's the Buccaneers versus Washington. I got that one right because, unfortunately, I said Tampa Bay is just too good, and I only gave us a 15% chance to win. All right. Ravens versus Titans. This is another 50-50 game, and I ended up just going ahead and taking Derrick Henry, and man, oh man, was I wrong. 18 carries, 40 yards for King Henry. He was bottled up all day. They completely shut him down, and they completely shut down Derrick Henry. Just destroyed him. A.J. Brown, on the other hand, he actually had a decent day with Marlon Humphrey on him, who I think is a potential top 5 corner in this league. This guy, former first-round pick from Alabama, baller. And A.J. Brown ended up with 6 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown. And he's like the only bright spot on this team coming on offense. This offense was just manhandled. It was ridiculous. So Lamar Jackson had an okay day through the air, 17 for 24, 179 yards. He did throw an interception, but we all know who Lamar is. 16 carries, 136 yards, and a touchdown. And it was a 48-yard touchdown to boot. He's just so good, except for the fact they need to get rid of those stupid design QB run plays. He gets like 2 yards a gain on them. Most of his yards came when he dropped back to pass, couldn't find anybody, made everybody miss in the backfield, and just basically has a wide open field to run because everybody's back in coverage. Why they run a single design run play for him is beyond me. He's taking unnecessary hits. You're not even getting good gains on them. Everybody's seeing it coming. That's what they're trying to stop, is his ability to run the football. And if you don't even give him an opportunity to throw the ball because it's a designed run play, they're just sending the house to stop Lamar. That's their goal. You see 136 yards, you're like, why not run with him? Because I bet it was like 20 yards on designed run plays, and it was 100-plus yards on when he got out of the pocket and made people miss and got some extra yards. That's exactly what that 48-yard touchdown looked like. They need to keep that up. The Ravens' defense looks legit. I love this defense. Matthew Judon, Derek Wolfe, Calais Campbell, Marlon Humphrey, and Marcus Peters as corners. They didn't even have Jimmy Smith, and Patrick Queen, an awesome rookie linebacker for him. This defense is really, really good, and they completely stymied a really high-powered Tennessee offense. This offense can get some points on the board quickly, and they ended up with only 13 on the day. This game also, I said it was going to be the game of the weekend. This game ended up being a snooze fest. Besides that 48-yard touchdown run, it was a boring game to watch. It was a lot of running. It was a quick game. They were done. I don't know what the final time was, but I remember looking down, and the Colts-Bills game the day before, there was the same time frame difference between that and the second game, and it was like 15 minutes, and then the next game was starting. When this game ended, it was like almost an hour before the next game was going to start. They just ran this clock so fast because both teams were trying to run the ball. I mean, you have, 57 run attempts combined by both teams, and not a whole lot of pass attempts, only 26, 24, and it was just the clock went so fast. There wasn't a lot of possessions either because of that. So this ended up being a really boring game to watch, but it wasn't the most boring game to watch because that was given to the next game, Chicago Bears versus the New Orleans Saints. Now, I did pick the Saints. I thought it was going to be an interestingly close game, which it had a chance to be. It was, I think his name is Javon Wims, number 83 for the Bears, had an opportunity to put the Bears up 10-7 on a deep pass. That was a beautiful pass by Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky put it right in the breadbasket. He was open. He had a step on his man, and it ends up just going right through his hands. Inexcusable, especially when your offense is terrible. Like this, at one point, and I'm not even going to lie to you, when New Orleans went up 21-3, I left. I went and watched a TV show with my wife that we like to watch. I went and watched that. This game, it was ridiculously boring, and it's so unfortunate that this is the game they decided to put on Nickelodeon if they were trying to get kids interested in football. Oh my God, this was not the game you wanted them to watch, because the Bears have a really good defense, and sometimes it can be hard if you don't really understand football to get a defensive game to really understand it. It's kind of like a pitching duel in baseball. Like, if you're really into baseball, you understand this pitching duel is amazing. Like, they're going at it, and it's 0-0 in the bottom of the eighth. Both pitchers are pitching fantastic, or they're both pitching no-hitters or whatever. But to a fresh set of eyes that don't really know baseball, you're like, this is boring. I'm just watching a pitcher throw into another guy's mitt all game. Why am I interested in this? This is boring. So, similarly, this was the same way, because the Saints, for the most part, were stymied by this great Bears defense, and then the great Saints defense destroyed this Bears offense. I mean, David Montgomery, who killed it the end of the season, he was having a 100-yard game, like it seemed like that in the last 5-6 weeks, ended up with only 12 carries, 31 yards in today, and it just got ugly. This was not a fun game to watch either, and we're not going to go too much more into it. I mean, Michael Thomas had 5 catches for 73 yards. Alvin Kamara ended up with almost 100 yards on the ground. But it was really not a great game. But the Saints move on, and they will play the Bucs the next round. All right, that takes us to our last game of the weekend. And it was the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns. And this game got out of hand so quickly. Oh my goodness. Like, the first or second play of the game, the center hiked it all over Ben Roethlisberger's head, right? So he's running back to get it and ends up on the 2-yard line. Big Ben's right there. James Conner ends up beating him to the ball, but doesn't pick it up. He slides, and then the ball is 2 yards away from him or something. And then the Browns come up and just clean it up and score a touchdown. So right out the bat, it was a 7-0 game. And then Big Ben went on to throw 3 interceptions, I believe, in the first quarter. Maybe it was the early on in the second quarter, too. I don't know. Let's look at the play-by-play. It was so fast. Interception. This one came in early in the second quarter. Okay, so 3 interceptions within the first 20 minutes of the football game. And it just got so ugly. I mean, touchdown. Another, they went up 28-0 in the first quarter. I believe this is before the end of the first quarter. They were up 28-0. It was, 3 minutes left in the first quarter. They're up 28-0. Interception. Actually, they don't call it interception. Sorry. Fumble, touchdown, interception, touchdown, punt, touchdown, interception, touchdown. That quickly. That being said, Big Ben and the Steelers rallied back into this game. And they actually had the ball in the third quarter, or early in the fourth, with a chance to go up within one score. It was a 35-23 game where they had the ball with a chance to bring it within one. And then they go 3 and out. Their offense was cooking. Touchdown, field goal, touchdown. Now we're within 12, and we go back to stinking it up. Then it was all over from there. The Browns scored another touchdown. Then even when the Steelers scored that next touchdown to go back within 13, it was still, they don't really have a chance. Browns score a field goal to go up by 16, so 2 touchdowns, 2 2-point conversions, and then interception number 4 coming from Big Ben to ice it, and a field goal for the Browns, put it without a reach. They did end up scoring one more touchdown in garbage time, but could not get the onside kick. And that was the weekend. So this is the one that I got completely wrong. I picked the Steelers big. And if it wasn't for that insane first quarter, it might not be too far off. I mean, after that 28-0, it was 37-20. If you don't have that fumble and then just complete meltdown by Big Ben, who knows what happens in this game. But good for the Browns. Browns won it. They deserved it. They kicked butt. They scored tons of points. They ran the ball really well. I guess not really well, but Nick Chubb, 18 carries, 76, 4.2. That's great. Kareem Hunt, 8 carries, 48 yards for 6-yard average, 2 touchdowns. They ran the ball effectively. Baker Mayfield was good, and they just crushed this Pittsburgh Steelers team offensively and defensively. So good for them. Big Ben ended the day with 501 yards and 4 touchdowns, but it's the 4 interceptions that proved to be killer. They also have no run game. 11 carries, 37 yards. Just absolutely abysmal. So that is the recap. I will go ahead and make 4 more videos with predictions on the games this weekend. I'm going to make 4 new videos coming out this weekend predicting the next games. We have the Browns versus the Chiefs. We have the Ravens versus the Bills. We have the Saints versus Buccaneers. And we have the Green Bay Packers versus the Rams. And all those games should be pretty interesting. It's going to be fun to try to predict them and preview them. And make sure to coming out with us on Saturday and Sunday. We'll be live streaming both games. Not literally showing the game film, but we'll be doing play-by-play commentary and hanging out with you guys and talking some football. So make sure to stop by. And until next time, see ya!